may not favor the platform they are existing, they are on. They may want to shift to what they think will be the winning platform. The bottom line of what I'm saying is that the earlier we cultivate the culture of carrying the constituencies along, and the electorates too need to be enlightened as to ask questions. Yes.
For concerning those who don't even go to their constituencies, but they go ahead, make this kind of move, even though they always say they go there, there must be a certain percentage that always get re-elected. So how is it that part of those who don't get to their constituencies before taking...
Well, unfortunately, up till now, if you go by the percentage of registered voters that come out to vote, it's still very, very low. I think we are still not getting up to, it is still around 30–40%. The INEC record shows about 64 million registered voters. But we end up with 30 million, 30 plus. I don't think we've gotten up to 40 million to date. It's between 30, 40, we haven't gotten up to 50%. So a lot of most of the politicians try to capitalize on this, that the electorate, there has been very poor education of the voters, both INEC and the political parties, and more of the political parties. I think most of the political parties, I must admit, are failing in that responsibility in educating the voters. I've just finished watching some of your presentation from INEC, trying to sensitize, trying to, in a state, over 700,000 permanent voters card not yet collected. So that means we have a very long way to really carry the electorates along.
Do the elections mean anything to the people of this country, do you think, to the extent that most of these defectors, or even those that are still within their staying put wherever they are, especially for the House of Representatives, hardly interface with their communities, hardly we see them knowing who these people are, who these representatives are. As soon as they get into the office, it becomes another different story entirely. So from that point of view, do you think that these defections have really meant anything for anyone?
That's exactly what I said. Honestly, the defections are largely not necessarily in the interest of the electorate, because as I said, we haven't any evidence to show that the electors have been sufficiently consulted, especially those elected, those sitting in elected position. You have been given a mandate by a certain group of people, they have given you their votes. It's only fair to go back and sensitize them and ask them, look, you gave me your mandate on platform A, and A is doing not the right thing. Are you satisfied? What are the problems? Share with them. Why do you think we need to change the platform? I think the politicians, with all due respect, are taking the electorates for a ride, maybe because of the level of education or the level of awareness, because people need to start asking why. People need to start asking questions, and people should learn to say no.
Will the politicians have their way again in 2019, since you say they're taking people for granted?
Yeah.
Will they have their way again in 2019?
Well, I think 2019 may not necessarily be different from what we've been having along, because, as I said, it's something to do with proper enlightenment, proper education of the electorate. And it's not a 4-year matter, it's not a 10-year. It's something that we really need to take very, very seriously. I still feel we're not doing enough in enlightening the electorate, in mobilizing them to come and vote. Currently, INEC is mobilizing, is campaigning, people should come and collect the PVC, and many are not really forthcoming. On the day of registration, you register millions, but on the day of the election, you don't find them.
Because the electorate tends to feel that their votes really do not count. But when you say many of those who are moving from one party to the other are not carrying their constituents along, then one begins to wonder, because after some of them announce their movement and in front of supporters, teaming supporters, the same way we see the rallies for the elections and all.
Well,
and then some move, and then when they come back home, they are received by enormous crowds. So
see,
how would that play out?
Honestly, I think, with all due respect and regard to my colleagues, the politicians, assembling crowds doesn't really move me. You know, there's what people call hired crowds. You know, with the poverty around, place 1 million buses around, and at no cost, you can easily get hundreds of thousands of youths to fill them up. So it's, while we encourage rallies and large assemblies, but in most cases, you and I know, this has sponsored crowds. A situation where a government will direct local governments to bring in X number of buses, X number of human beings being sponsored. So personally, I don't get really seriously moved by seeing a large crowd.
But you held rallies during your own campaign.
Yeah, we've had rallies. You see, what I'm saying is that I'm not making a general, putting everybody into the same basket. There are people who are really very dear to their own constituencies. They consult and they reach out to them. They have the respect of the constituencies. What I'm saying is that we should not totally depend on or place our judgments based on the large crowds we see. You see, one has to get to the constituencies, one has to find out exactly what's happening. A lot of money politics, as you all very well know, are into play. You know, when you carry your money, hire bosses, hire crowd, pay some token feeding allowances to the youth, you carry a lot of them.
So did you hire a crowd during your campaign?
Of course, yes, we do. I did campaign and I had all the crowds, and a lot of them. We reach out. I don't want to really speak of myself so that I don't appear as if one is self-praising. But if I may give